He's been with us in Polamaa as a speaker for the last 2 years. This is his third time at PT. He is an amateur astronomer. He is a cyclist. He is an avid trekker. He has recently been bitten by a bug that takes him to all historical heritage sites in South India. And a lot of us visit temples and historical sites for a reason, or maybe it's just part of the planned tour. But very few stand and stick around to admire the beauty. You might pass a few, pass and come and say, wow, that's beautiful, beautiful piece of archaeology, and what wonderful craftsmanship 1,000 years ago. Now, very few actually stand, ponder, dig deeper, and find out the real history behind these heritage sites. And one such man is Manick. It's a queer pastime, it's a very strange passion to have, but he reminds me of Robert Langdon from the Dan Brown series. If I could ever find a bespectacled professor who's talking to me about religious symbology and archaeology, I think he would be the Indian version.
Astronomy also.
Yeah, astronomy too, except I'll be seeing stars and just talking about it. He's quite an interesting person, and I've been very fascinated by his previous sessions at TP. I'll let you find out for yourself if you're a first time around, but put your hands together for Manick. Blood donation camp is running on in full steam. Those of you who are feeling generous, if you can donate a little blood, we'll be very pleased. It's being organized by Voluntary Health Services. We had 40 donors yesterday. I hope we outdo ourselves today. So, any interested brave-hearted youngsters, even the older people, please step out if you'd like to donate blood. Put your hands together again for Manick.
How many of you cannot understand Tamil? Okay, I'll try to minimize my English version of it, okay? I'll try to speak as much as possible in English. I'll start off with your question, sir. You asked, what do you tell your 3-year-old child? As Peter said, it's a state of mind. It really is a state of mind. I have 2 boys. They're all grown up now, 26 and 20 years old. Both of them are world travelers. They just pick up a country and just travel. And I remember that throughout their growth years, we went trekking, we went visiting places. So the way I see it is to meet new people and to see new places. That's all the reason that you need. You don't need any other reason. Here under Peter and gang, we saw them. It's a wonderful thing that those guys did. You can come closer. I have not been able to take the time off and the kind of rigor that is needed to go on a long-term cycling trip. But I've been able to do some day trips from Chennai. From within Chennai, you can leave at say at 5 in the morning and come back at about 8 in the evening, and you can actually see through at least about 15 centuries in the past. Right? I'm not talking about number of temples you will visit, but you can see about 15 centuries of the time. Not even cumulatively, very specifically. You can go to a temple that is probably 1,300 years old, and you can admire things that are still out there for us to see free of charge. This is the freest party that you can do in India, especially if you're living in South India. There are 38,000 temples. And if any one of you say that I've been to some 5 good temples, chances are very high I've not been there. There are so many of them, permutation and combinations. Okay? So feel free to enjoy what's around us. And I'm going to give you a small tour towards the centuries, all the way from say 4th century onwards. So this one here, has anyone seen this kind of a temple before? No. It's called Manick. Manick. You can see that there's a big platform, and on top of that is where the coil is. And it's a very, very funny incident that happened to Chora king, who was one of the biggest, greatest kings of his time, Kochenglan Choran. Apparently he was afraid of elephants. I mean, this guy goes to war, he does a lot of stuff, but he was afraid of elephants, and so he happened to build a temple that was on a higher pedestal, and that's what was called as Manick. He built about 70 of them in the 4th century, actually 3rd century probably. We don't quite know mid-century we built them because we don't have a dating on exactly when we lived. So this one is in Alambakam, completely in ruins. Not much to see. If you think there's nothing there. But if you walk up to it, there's so many treasures in each and every corner. And I'm going to show you some of those treasures. So you asked, why? I mean, we always come up with this question of why. Why? Why do people build temples? Any idea? I put one reason out there. Bhakti. I'm sorry?
One is like it has the inbuilt medical treatment kind of thing in all our temples. So that's the main reason they built temples.
Okay, so he's talking about the medicinal value of camphor and herbs in a temple, and that cures people. Maybe. Right?
That brings people together.
People together, wonderful. Actually, Bhakti was the first one. Man was worshipping God through nature. He did not even have statues. Then he started keeping a form. Then he wanted to put it into a place. And finally he said, okay, I'm going to come up with temples. And he came up with this concept of Bhakti. Right? So we have this Bhakti. For people. Do you recognize this temple? Ranjavati. It was purely for the people. In fact, Rajarajan said this was built by the people, not by me alone. He has given credit to everyone. And this one was open to the entire population at that time. And the previous one was the Shore Temple. Everyone recognize this? Alright. The next one was success. Whenever Raja went and fought and won his wars, he said, okay, let me just build a temple to propitiate the god. And this was the grandest temple that we have to record. This is in Gangai Konda Choran. What does Gangai Konda Choran mean? Choran, Gangai Konda Choran. He went all the way up to Gangas, right? All the Ganges region, and he Gangai Konda Choran. He conquered them. So he created this Gangai Konda Choran. Another one was where the ladies, the royal ladies of a royal family, they felt that they wanted to create something good. And they created very nice, beautiful temples. This particular lady, she's sitting here, you don't see it very clearly, but she's sitting there, that's Chempin Mahadevi. Kandaraditya Choran, his wife, she made sure that all the temples in her area of sovereignty, which were made of bricks, she converted them to temples of structures. அதாவது மண்தளி மண்தளின்றது மண்ணால் செய்கிறது செங்கல் சுதை இந்த மாதிரி அது வந்து கற்றணி கல்லால் செஞ்சிருக்கிறது ஸோ மண்தளி கற்றணி so she made that happen and she plays a very important role in Chola Empire just for that reason alone. And finally we have what we call Pallipadai. Pallipadai are two temples. There's not anything much inside. There's just one lingam. அவ்வளவுதான் வெறும் லிங்கம் தான் இருக்கும் அதை சுற்றி வர எந்த ஒரு இதுவும் இருக்காது that becomes a temple and so this one is Panjavan Mahadevi one of the consorts of Rajaraja Choran and she was very influential in his life and a very small non-visible temple nothing great about it just simple but this is a temple you can see that பெரிய விமானம் கூட இல்லை there's no gopuram behind it actually we call it vimanam not gopuram gopuram is what's out there in the front Vimanam is the one that's right up over the sanctums and floor. So just if at all you take anything from this talk today, remember that Vimanam is the one that's right on top of the sanctums and floor. Everything else is Gopuram. Please do not call Vimanam Gopuram. Alright? Okay. So I'm going to take you through an evolution of temples. You had Sengal, Kodavare, Otraikal, Kattumanam, which is basically brick, cave, monolithic structure. These came about because technology was improving, basically. This one was probably the earlier temples. This one is in Vedava. It's made of brick. It still stands today. And we're talking about 8th century temple that still stands today. Maybe not in the perfect condition, but it's there. And I can guarantee you the bricks that you see from these temples are so hard, you really cannot break them with even a hammer. You see that it's got one curved back, and that's called Gajaprashtai. Gajaprashtai is basically a form of architecture, and all temples had a certain agam, a way of creating the temple. They had to be in a certain direction, a certain dimension, all of that, which is why you will always come across a situation where people say, oh, a particular day, in the light will correct it was meant, it was designed, but it's not the only reason why they built that. They built it with such clarity of thought that they said, here is where God resides, and let people come and pray.
So is it somewhere near Kanchipur?
This one, Vedal is India. And Vedal was, we know that this was prior to Rajarajan because there is a culvert, an inscription that talks about Rajarajan. I mean, look at this is a simple culvert. It's not a flat. He put it outside here because he could not put it inside the temple there. It's made of bricks. If it was made of stone, he could have inscribed it there, but he didn't do that. And he wanted to leave it the way it is because it must have been so pretty at that time. About 1100 years ago, it was so pretty, he didn't want to touch it. He said, let it be the way it is, and he has continued, but he has documented that it was there. Let me go to the first cave temple. So that was the Sengal, right, brick, and then we go to the cave temple. This was a place called Mandagapattu. Now, nice, beautiful rock face. They cut it like butter, very crisp, right? So very good. Yes, sir.
When you say Mandagapattu, can you please approximately say the location, which state, which district or something?
Very, very simple. They are all within a day's trip from Chennai. Never put it that way. Viluppuram, Viluppuram, Dindivanam, Arakkodam, in the area. I'm not talking about anything that's too far away from here. I'll tell you which is something that's far away from here. But everything that can be done within a day is what I want to do. And you're all based out of Chennai, and I want to see how I can motivate you guys to take a trip with me probably some other time. So this one is a simple cave temple. You have what they call the two Dwarapalagas and some two. This is called the Moga Mandapam. And then once you go there, there will be an Artha Mandapam, which is the inner sanctum. Don't worry about the jargon I'm using, just to show you that these guys thought about all of this. And they just put a rock face in the it's not easy. But at the same time, they also had some small patterns that mimic the buildings of those times. And mind you, the buildings of those times was made of wood and the support cantilever. For the cantilever action, you had some extension, and they just cut it. For this one, you don't really need an extension, right? It's not getting any weight, but they made it pattern. And then these steps were added much later, but you can see that that's the height of an average person. It's quite tall, and you can see that this is cut this way so that no rainwater comes in and goes inside. So it was a place of worship. This is a place again very close to Mandagapattu, Talavanur. How many of you are trekkers here? How many of you want to climb up to the top of the rock? Right? It's actually a fun thing to do. In fact, we were all the way there. We went there and we saw that there were some Jain beds between some Jain monks, and they carved a small bed there out of rock and must have slept there or must have stayed there. And it's a great view from out there. But right below is where that small temple is. And Talavanur temple was the next generation from the previous temple. The previous one was just plain cut. Here you will see that there is some ornamental. And you will also see they've cut some grooves here to mimic a foundation and a platform and all that. So they were already thinking about structures at this point, and they were coming up with good representation, and they said, okay, this is something that's not going to go ahead and get destroyed in due time. So they were looking over the longevity. And they had some very nice work, it's called Gudu. They have some figurines. And then this is called Magara Toranam. I'll show you some pictures. All of these were intricately carved. And over here you have some figure. You have a yari, you have a padakam. You have a yari or a padakam. That's a padakam. All of these were something they were trying. And they didn't have to come up with any of these beautiful things to create God. But they said, okay, let's go ahead and make it nice. In fact, this guy, Mahendravarma Pallavan, when he builds these cave temples, he says, without wood, without sengal, without ulogam, which is metal, I have created something good. Which means it must have been an innovation at this time. Because we must have had it at the time. So this is, like I told you, there is a Muga Mandapam and Artha Mandapam. When you raise it, you say it's to propitiate a god. You're going to say this is something important. So and that's what they showed the difference between the outer Mandapam and the inner Mandapam. And there is a god there. You have the Dwarapalakas who are guarding the god. This one is a place called Mahendravadi. Again, probably about 20-30 kilometers from where we saw the previous one. Apparently, Mahendravarma Pallavan sent troops of people looking for rocks where he can carve these things. And the reason why he carved these things, again, he has very clearly inscribed saying, imagine, this guy is a Raja, he does not have to do anything for Makkal. Or he can just protect them, but then he goes ahead and says, and a very simple, beautiful rock. It's just one simple rock that's standing out there, he cuts through that, he makes some ornamental stuff, and then he places a garden there. This is a place called Siyamangalam. There is a cave temple right there. Subsequent Rajas, subsequent kings found that to be a very nice temple, so they started building other mandapams beyond that. So these were additions that came much later. In fact, it would come much later up to the 13th and 14th and even 15th centuries. So you can climb the rock and come down. I mean, it's a very, especially for kids. Again, this is one of the fun stuff that you can do. When you go there, I was hoping that I could have taken some more kids with me there, because they would have been more agile than us and climbed up those things. You can see that I'm being very careful when I come down. Everyone's careful, but a younger person, boom, you just go up and come down. So it's a fun thing to do. You can combine it with bhakti. And when you go into Siyamangalam, you can see that there are patterns and there are some figurines. In fact, the first representation of Nadaraja, Chidapratra Nadaraja Tatliya, our first representation is here in Siyamangalam. We are talking about 9th century. This is the first time, and every one of these temples will have something small like that. You can pick on that and then actually enjoy what they must have gone through at that point. Again, it's a state of mind. To know that this is where it's all started when it comes to worship of Lord Nataraja, where you see a number of statues much later start right there. And then we come to the monolithic. This one everyone recognizes. Everyone has been to this, right? Are they still charging to go inside? They still do. I'm happy they do that because they need to maintain it. But then you can see that this entire thing was one mound, and they just went ahead and cut it through. And what remains are these 5 rathas. So they did not construct it somewhere and then bring it over here. It just was very old mala, but it's in a kundru, mala that is kundru. And the kundru they vetti, they just took it out. And what remains is these 5. And every one of them is different. You can see that this one looks like a wooden temple. Like a wooden temple. And then you can see that this one has got some structure. This is a Gajaprashai. You have an elephant. And this one has got a different kind of a roof. But not a very model. Again, you can, the occupation on a way, you can take about a half a day. But I'm just going to go through why they went through this. And this one is an example of that particular mandapa, the intricacy that they have done here. This is another mandapam in Mahabalipuram. You can see this, how intricate it has been. It's all one rock top to bottom. And then finally we come to structural. This is the earliest one that we know of that survives today. It's in a place called Puram. They had a structure like this, again Gajaprashai. But there might have been a Vimana, and Vimana so but again, this was probably the first time they attempted to create a structure on a level piece of land. They create some stone structures, carved stone structures, bring it over and set it up. And another example of that is, you know where this is? Mahabalipuram. What was this supposed to be, according to legend? Lighthouse, yes. It's one of the highest points in Mahabalipuram. And you can see that there is a Kodavarai there, right there. Otherwise, this is actually structure. They have actually gone ahead and created those stone cuttings, taken it there, and it still stays there. Mahendra Rajasmavarman, Pallavar. Avaroda kaalathila irundhu vandhathu. Adu vandu this still stays there. Which means they understood weights of rocks settling in the blocking system. And then they went ahead and came up with wonderful structures like Kailasanatha Koil in Kanjipuram. This one was probably again one of the best in its time. In fact, Rajaraja Cholan came here, was inspired by this to go ahead and build the Brigadeshwara temple. And I'm just going to show you some pictures on the inside. You can see there are rows and rows of these columns with nice work. Over column there are variation in each and every one of them. And this one, painting. This is the actual painting. You can see the face. You can see the face there, and then that's a leg, cross leg, which is what I'm showing here. See that? That's a face there. Beautiful, very nice, very nicely painted, and it's survived what? Again, 1200, 1300 years. It's there for us to go and see, free again. This is taken over by ASI, and ASI has managed to keep it safe, not necessarily the kind of safety that we put out. They also had paintings like weird feet and all that, and you can see again Parvati and Shiva probably. Now you can see, do you know who this is? That's Vishnu. The way you can identify Vishnu is you have Sanghu and Sakara. Right? So, ரொம்ப simple. There are only three gods that we have to look out for: Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. Brahma, how do you recognize it?
Three face.
Multiple heads தெரியும். At least 3 head தெரியும் நமக்கு. Right? ஒரு 5 head இருந்தது 3 தெரியும், பின்னாடி ஒன்று இருக்கு. Shiva, Vishnu வந்து சங்கு சக்கரம். Shiva வந்து actually does not have a crown, it's a matted hair. அது வச்சு நீங்க கண்டுபிடிச்சலாம். இந்த நெற்றிக்கண்ணு ஒன்று இருக்கும். இதை வச்சு நீங்க கண்டுபிடிச்சலாம். So this one is Vishnu. Here is Shiva. What do you see here? Do you see Vishnu here? The previous page I showed you. Vishnu and Shiva and Parvati here. That's exactly what they sculpted. So you can see that they actually painted all of these first, and then probably or vice versa, but they represented art in two forms, in paint and actual sculptures. And it's uncanny. You can see that the same structure is what is out there. This is Soma Skanda. Shiva, Uma, Kandan. And then that's Vishnu behind, and that would be Brahma there. And if you go to Kailashanatha Koil, you'll see hundreds of these guys in different kinds of forms. And I'm going to just take a brief moment to explain some of the statues in Kailashanatha Koil. Again, another point of interest. This one is Kala Samharamurti, which means this is Shiva. He is beating down Yama. And you can see this guy Yama is really in pain. Imagine this artist has actually boxed him and he's made him crouch there, and this guy Shiva is stomping on him. Can you imagine, I mean, what imagination this guy should have had to be able to collect all of this in one stroke. It's actually quite tall. I might be probably this tall if I stand right there. And it's larger than life size. And this one here, this is called Gangadhara Shiva. He is bringing down Ganga, Lady Ganga, who is main, and Parvati, she's jealous. Can you almost see the jealousy in her face? She's like, oh my God, another girl coming through my husband here. I will be careful. And she's very, very, very tentative there. But on the Voila, look at how dainty she is, and look at how manly this guy is. You can see the Manick. All of this is stone. Again, if I stand there, I'm probably this tall. And he's that big. And it's all there. Again, it's been there for ever, for the last 1200, 1300 years. And you can just enjoy it. This one is Kottravai, one of the earliest Tamil gods. Before all of these other gods came into being, and Kottravai is the only god. Again, very stylish. She's come back after defeating some women, and so she's on a simha, and she's got multiple arms. So again, there's a lot of mythology and legend to this. You don't have to go through and understand all of that. Just to go and see these, the art form is very, very nice. And I want to show you one more in Kailas, another Koil. Here is Gaja Samhar Murti, which means Shiva is coming out of Gajam. Gajam is elephant, and he has conquered the demon, elephant demon, and it must have been a very terrible battle, very terrifying battle. And you can see one of the Shiva Ganas, one of the Shiva disciples, actually in some kind of very scared look. I mean, he's seeing the intensity of this war, Bayanti Nikram. And you can see over 1200 years that is still surviving. And the Vaya Parlam, and the Vaya period. And the Vaya, even after erosion, you can still see, which means when the artist has done this, he has ensured that, I don't think he would have thought it would erode or whatever, but he's made sure that every aspect of the face was captured. Nartamalai, 9th century, seems like a very simple temple. Again, all of these temples of early years were very small, nothing big, nothing spectacular. But what they did to the Koshta is the area surrounding the temple. Over faces there will be a god. It will start out with Vinayaka, and I'll show you some examples. Vinayaka, Dakshinamurti, then Shivan, then Brahman, and then finally Durga. So again, they were very small temples, not very tall. That's the Vimanam, made of stone completely. Again, the symmetry is Shiva with the Veena. Again, another temple where you can see this what they call Yadi Varise. Every Varise has got Yadis, and you can see how the Yadi, I just expanded that here. You can see a small figurine of a guy coming out. They made all of these mythical things, and it's fun to actually see that. A funner thing would be up there somewhere there, not in this picture, there'd be Shivaganas. Remember the previous Shivagana I showed was full of Bayam? Adhe Madhi, you'll have Shivaganas favors, and show you why. And the bottom, on the other side, you will have, it starts with Vinayaka, and you have all of these figurines. Very pretty, they all have something or the other that you can talk about. And then you have, again, these are probably only 6 inches. Each one of these, 6 inches. This one is, anyone knows what this is? I'll tell you, simple words. That's Rishabham, right? Rishabham is basically a bull. Rishabhantara. You can literally derive the name very easily once you get the basics. And basically, Rishabhantara, Rishabhantara. Now you see that particular tongue there. Again, that has stood the vagaries of nature for 1300 years. I actually climbed up to take these pictures, climbed up on top of the temple. No one is there. Now for a temple, we don't go for the bigger temples. There are 4 of us that will go together. I think my friends have not come here yet. I have Sashidharan, Ramesh Muthain, and Akila. The 4 of us go. And all 4 of us, we climb over compound walls, jump over wire, jump over bushes to look at these temples, which are hidden behind some facades. Even the local people might not know that they exist. Again, Nadinamana or Ardhanarishwarar, right? I mean, half man, half woman. And half woman, you can see the Nadinam, half man, you can see the Gambiram. And he's always resting on a Rishabham. How do you show this curve there? So you want him to lean against something. Again, all of these are techniques that they've used, and you can recognize that. Once you recognize that, you see, oh wow, is that why the leg is a little bit higher than the other one? In the why is? That's the Mahishasha Suramartini, the Durga, on a Mahisha. She has conquered the Mahisha. That's a size. I'm going to take two more slides to show you some beautiful. That tall is, this one is only that tall, as tall as a pen. Look at this one. This is, remember I talked to you about Gaja Samhara Murti. Same Gaja Samhara Murti. This is Shiva. Gajan. Here is the elephant's head dropping down. Look at the Tumbikai. It's actually floppy. Right? I mean, that means that he's dead. And he's got 4 legs, 1, 2, 3, and another one somewhere here. But what is most important is he's created this image in the patterns of 1/3. Sham, photography. You divide your frames into thirds, right? You can see it's almost thirds. Thirds, everything. Beautiful. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And the framing one was. So the framing was there in us long time ago, even before our photographers came and told us about 1/3. We have it there. And to show that he's actually tearing out from within the Gajan, he's turning around. Right? He's turning around like that. And that's why you see his butt and his thigh, the flexing of the muscles. The flexing of the muscles show that he's actually tearing apart from inside. And how do you know that it's terrifying? Look at this Parvati. What is she doing? Right? And what happens to this one? That is Skanda. What's happening to? He's actually jumping over from his own mom into the hands of a maid. That's a male, the man of the family. And these two people are actually being very wary of that Akroshan. So, to show that Akroshan, the artist has put in these 3 people. And of course, here is the fun guy, Shivagana, Padichibai, you remember when we were young, we used to do this? Right? It's all nice fun stuff. Right? Okay. This one again will take another few seconds to go through this. This is Bali. He's dead. Here is one monkey that has got him on his thigh, a head on a thigh. This is Tara, the wife, the leg on her lap. And you can see that this guy is crying, this guy is very sad, this guy is peeping over to find out what's happened to my king. There are other people here. And here, this guy is rolling on the floor, R-O-F, not F-L, R-O-F, crying. Right, rolling on the floor, crying. And you can see that all of these are in anguish. Again, it's all bored, it's just 6 inches to that. He has captured this everything. Even the anguish in Tara's face, you can almost see. And this is what they've done to our temples. Beautiful stuff.
But
yes?
temple lying captured, is it Shiva temple or?
It's a Shiva temple.
Shiva temple, people sculptures Vali's character?
Yeah, because Ramayana is not Purana.
In Shiva's temple?
Exactly. They did not say this should be only Shiva. அது பெருமாள் இருப்பார் இதில் பெருசாக இருக்க மாட்டார் கோஷம் அதில் இருப்பார் ஸோ they did not decide. There are 20 or different types of creating a Shiva temple, and each one had their own agama, their own way of doing things, and this was one. So this was one of my favorite again in Polamaa. You can see that this is Brahma, right? You can see the face there and another face there, and this one's looking towards us to the left. Look at the beauty. I mean, this is a past. Again, 1300 years, it's out there in the elements. You can go touch it. You can go touch it, you can sit there. Personally, I've been to this place, I think, at least about 4 times. And all 4 times I've sat in front of this panel. Actually, it's a மூணு இது இருக்கும். லிங்கோத் பவர், பிரம்மா and விஷ்ணு. 3 பேர் முன்னாடி ஒரு 2 மணி நேரமா உட்கார்ந்துருக்காங்க. ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். Nothing to do, just watch. And there are other statues in above it and below it and all that. You just spend time. That's called Lingoth power. Again, this mythology that Vishnu went down in a kurma and Brahma went up, and then both of them were trying to find the Adi and the Andam. And Vishnu gave up, saying, I cannot go down deep enough. Brahma comes across Ketaki, the flower. He says, oh, I found the top. And then that infuriates Shiva, and he says, you lied, so I curse you, you will not have a temple to yourself. And that's how we don't have a temple for Brahma. Alright. This is a place called Kodumbalur, Mover Koil. Here is, again, what is this? I've shown you 2 of these pictures earlier. Who is this down there? Kalan, Yama. Kalas Samharamurti. Samharamna, literally. Right? Samharamurti. So this is Kalas Samharamurti. This is Shiva. Now look at the beauty of this. You can almost recognize him stomping on it. Right? Can you imagine the stomping? In fact, in the West, in Europe, in about 18th or 19th century, there was a movement of painting called realism. The paint பண்றது they capture it as though it's taken in a photograph பண்ண மாதிரி எடுத்து வச்சிருப்பாங்க. That was a very great movement. And in the meantime, this was again probably in the 10th or 10th century, we had guys, sculptors here who actually carried them in snaps of realism. So it's almost like the kaal, all of them must have occupied one little portion of the entire drama and sculptured it all in one thing. And it still does not look weird. But if you try to maintain this pose, it will not happen. I've seen Padma Subramaniam dance and show some of these steps. And I would sequence it. It will take about maybe 5-7 seconds for her to do all of this. But all of that is captured on one statue. Can you imagine? Again, this is all free for us. Right there, you can touch it, you can take pictures, you can pose with it, and selfie or whatever you want. It's right there, right? So this one really fascinates me. Again, the Bible number, another proportion, everything very clear, nothing uneven about it. It's natural. And finally, we come to the massive structure of Thanjai Koil. I think it's about 207 feet high, one of the greatest monuments in the world today. It's a UNESCO heritage site. It has everything that you would want in a temple. The ambience is wonderful. The sizes are huge, unthinkable. We don't know where they brought all of these stones from. We don't know how they assembled that, but they did it. And this one is the second GoPro. Mind you, this is a GoPro. This is the Vimanam, right? So Vimanam. This is the GoPro. There are 2 GoPros, one here and one there before you go to the final temple. And in the temple, you see people are sitting here and there are people there. You can see how tall this person. 40-50 feet columns. And he has cut the rocks, brought it into the city. Bringing these, transporting these rocks, they had to bring builders, 6 சக்கர வண்டி, 6 சக்கர வீதிகள், 6 சக்கர வண்டிகள். And நம்ம 18 wheel truckலாம் பார்க்குற மாதிரி, which means again he had to make a great leap of technology. He had to make sure that he had to have spring absorbers in the vandi so that it does not break under the weight of these rocks. So by just making this one temple, Rajarajan elevated the economy to heights that India never saw before or after. Just this one temple alone.
Is it possible now to do like this?
I'm sorry?
Is it possible to bring the rocks like this?
I'm sure we can do it. ஆனால் அப்போ வந்து சொன்ன மாதிரி it was a leap. வெறும் 4 சக்கரம் இருந்ததில் வந்து இப்போ 6 சக்கரம் கொடுத்து வந்து நீங்கள் பண்ணுறீங்க. So it's a wonderful technology they must have had. And I'm going to show you again the sizes. This is an actual elephant. That's a Dwarapalgar. That's a Dwarapalgar, and elephant was standing here. The elephant was standing there. And then, so this guy is so tall, but at least almost twice the size of an elephant, this guy. And right there, I want you to concentrate on this one. This is Simmam. And over here, you can see a small elephant. So this elephant, what we depicted now, he's depicting, this sculptor is depicting, there is an elephant which is being swallowed by a snake. And that snake is actually along this mask that he's holding, which means this guy is talking that way. Right? ஒரு elephant வந்து சிறுசா தெரியுது, பாம்பு and the whole thing. And, okay, I think okay. And he's got 4 அபிநயங்கள் சொல்ல முடியாது, முத்திரை. Right? இதில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, இங்கே வந்து he says that someone there, behind there, இது இந்த டெம்பிள் பின்னாடி ஒருத்தர் இருக்கிறாரு. நீங்க பாரு, நான் எவ்வளோ பெரிய ஆளுன்னு நானே பாரு, நான் எவ்வளோ பெரிய ஆளுன்னு நான் உனக்கு காமிக்கிறேன். நான் எவ்வளோ பெரிய ஆளாக இருக்கும்போது இது விஸ்மயம். All this was, by the way, lock and key. அதாவது they have a locking mechanism. ஒரு சின்ன குழி போட்டு ஒவ்வொரு ராக்கும் மேலே வச்சிருக்கிறாங்க. In fact, you will not believe it, the foundation for this temple is not more than 25 feet. You didn't need gold. Research deeper way on the height of 207 feet in the That's all the weight of the rock, and they all locked in, so it cannot move either. The earthquake doesn't move away, and the body was all well locked. And they had managed all of that by using these marks. All of this you can see, you can touch and see. This is the Nandi, original Nandi. The Nandi out there was built much later by the Nayakas. This one, the Nandi, if I stood there, I'm probably that tall. But it is preserved. And with 55 meters, there's inscriptions. And the கோயிலுக்கு ஒர்க் பண்ணவங்க பேர், என்ன பண்ணாங்க, அவங்களுக்கு என்னென்ன கொடுத்தாங்க, what house was allocated to them, அப்படிலாம் was well documented. And I found my name, கரிய மாணிக் தத்து. My name is Manick என்று சொல்லி வச்சிருக்கேன். அது மாணிக் நீங்க இருக்க பாருங்க. என் பேர் அந்த காலத்துல போட்டு.
Sir, I found my name.
உன் பேர் கண்டுபிடிச்சிட்டேன், ஷாம். Very good. This one was Gandhikota Cholapuram. Again, this was the model photo. Very pretty.
Where do you stand?
இது வந்து ஒரு கோபுரம் இருக்குங்க. அதில் கொஞ்சம் அங்கே இருக்க செக்யூரிட்டியால் கொஞ்சம் டிபி கொடுத்து மேலே ஏறிட்டோம். We are used to giving DBK to security people. We just climb in a flash. Yes, sir.
And I need your comments on that watchman guy which I posted on Gangit.
Watchman?
We posted a picture on Facebook and your suggestion on that. Who supposed to be the Western guide in Tanjai Perepuri?
Okay.
So your comments on that.
Sure. Okay. So this is a Gandhikota Cholapuram. Again, Sandesa Murti, Sandesa Murti, Anugraha Murti. Again, you don't have to worry about it, but look at that Pillai, Nataraja, beautiful. So what I did, so they put a support there. This is Melakadambur, 12th century, around to 12th century. You can see from the earlier temples, this one is becoming a bit more intricate. Chariot, it looks like as though it's a chariot. Right? And then this one, Karakoil, again, very intricate columns there. Not load bearing, but just beautiful structures. And then even the roof, they carved it as though it's like wood. Right? So very intricate, very pretty. Kalakad. This is by the time we come to these kind of ornamental temples, it's into the 15th century, and you have the Nayakas and the later kings who temples. They took the older temples, made it better and bigger. So which is why if you go to Srirangam, when you walk from outside to the inside, you're walking back into time, all the way to the 6th century, from 18th century to the 6th century. And you can see the differences. I'm going to just veer away from a few things. This is a statue in one of the temples that we found, and how to birth. If you motherhood, they have some newer ways of birthing. It's not newer way. So it's been there. So when someone says, I never would want to take it at face value until I see something. And when I see something like this, I'm like, wow, we add something there. Again, this is probably from the 8th, 9th centuries. And look at this one. What do you think is happening here? Elephant?
Rescue.
Fight. Elephant fight? What else do you see?
Rescue.
Elephant rescue?
Giving birth.
Giving birth, exactly. See that little there? Little... and then helping elephant is pressing on the stomach, and you can see the depression. Beautiful depression. And this elephant is holding up the tail. We don't know if it happens in real life or not, but it looks believable, very believable, right? Again, why did they do this? Just to entertain people. Again, they knew that this is going to last for the longest time. So the sculptor who did it, he knew that he was going to be up for criticism. So he believed in what he did and he did it, right? This is Hiranyakashipu, Hiranya Avadara, right? So Narasimha Avadara. Narasimha Avadara, correct. Narasimha Avadara. Look at the beauty of this whole thing. This is the final fight. He is holding, this guy is holding him with one hand. Another hand is holding back his other arm. He's locked his feet there, and he's got a raised hand. But one ready tongue particular Madri. Right? Can you imagine that? Right? It's almost, this is the death blow. All in one thing, mind you. All in one small thing. You can ever personal. This is probably about 9 to 10 inches. But on the whole, clean again, all of this for entertaining us, for reminding us of certain mythologies and legends.
Singham 1400.
I'm sorry?
Singham 1400.
Exactly, so here's how they must have carved out from a rock. You can see something upcoming there. This is in Mahabalipuram, and here's how we are carving it out. This is in Mandagabatte actually. I mean, we saw this actually. I mean, sad to say, but this is why last year also I talked about trekkers making a very big impact. You have to go trek and make it visitable so that the bad, unsocial elements don't stay there. Now, he's not there to grab it. He's there because no one else is there. This is Panjam Madhavi's Pallipadu. இங்கே வந்து ஒரு சின்ன ட்ரீயே வளர்ந்துருக்கு. So we cleared it up at one time. ஐயங்கார்குளம், how many of you went to ஐயங்கார்குளம்? Right? அங்கே மேலே ஏறிக்கிறீங்களா? மேலே ஏறியா? யார் மேலே ஏறினா? அங்கே என்ன பார்த்தீங்க நீங்க?
Just clean it.
க்ளீன் பண்ண. ஆனால் என்ன மாதிரி இருந்தது? வேறு நிறைய இருந்ததா? அது புரிஞ்சது கஷ்டமா இருந்ததா? What did you use?
It's not possible.
என்ன பண்ணீங்க அதுக்கு?
We didn't complete it.
You didn't complete it, but still you cleaned it up as much as you can, right? இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய டெம்பிள்ஸ் இருக்கு. நம்ம வந்து சிட்டிஸ்ல ஒரு டெம்பிள் எடுத்து நம்ம ஒரு விஷயம் பண்ணா கூட we can make a lot of difference. And here you can see that நடுவுல இருக்கு. Nothing can be done about this temple. Nothing can be done about this temple. This is a temple that we came across. We were going somewhere over area. We saw the top of that particular thing from a far off distance. And then we ஒரு ஆறு இருந்தது, மணலெல்லாம் ஏறி போய் எப்படியோ கஷ்டப்பட்டு அந்த பக்கம் போய் பார்த்தா it's a beautiful temple, probably again maybe 10th century. And someone was trying to do something about it. I don't know whether they were trying to take out the rocks or trying to set it up, but it was a very beautiful, it must have been a very pretty sight at one time. Gajapur site again, right? This is made out of bricks, Pullalu. This is in Vepattur. must have been a very tall building at that time. And here is the remain of a palace. Look at these kings. They could have done anything for their own palaces. கோயில்களும் நல்ல கல்லா கட்டிதான், பேலஸ் வந்து வெறும் பிரிக்கால் கட்டிதான். So it's all gone. This is the Rajendra Cholan palace. There's nothing there. 250 ஆண்டுகள் இந்த இடத்துல இருந்து வாழ்ந்துருக்காங்க. But there's nothing there after 250 years. But அவங்க கட்டின கங்கை கொண்ட சோழபுரம், we saw it, I mean, that's the magnitude and the magnanimity of these guys. Now, of course, some of our temples don't have, I mean, some of our gods don't have temples anymore. வெளியே உட்கார்ந்துருக்காரு. இவர் வந்து இந்த உட்கார்ந்துருக்க ஒரு இதே, he must be at least about 7-8 feet. Again, this is Vishnu, Chandra Chakram, this is Devya. Unbelievable architecture is sitting out there in the elements. Thankfully, it's too heavy, no one can physically go together. Now, if I show you these two and I gave you an offer, which one would you pick up? I tell you, you can pick up any one of these. Which one would you guys pick up? The left or the right? Give you only one chance. Right? Left? You will pick up the left. Who will pick up the left? Who will pick the right? Okay, you guys just won the lottery. When a set of guys wanted to steal, they created a duplicate, left this behind, sent this out to Australia. We just got it back. Thanks to a guy called Vijay. We have documented this. He had pictures of this. ஒரு 10 வருஷம் முன்னாடி போனப்போ ஃபோட்டோ எடுத்துருக்காரு. அந்த ஃபோட்டோ வச்சு அது ஒரு ஆதாரமாக காமிச்சு, ப்ரூஃபாக காமிச்சு, he was able to show that this really belonged to us. You guys got this out of illegal means, returned it to us. It was returned about a couple of months ago. Of course, it would have been safer outside there probably, that's a different issue. But it's come back to us. Ardhanarishwarar. I mean, so very pleasant. This is Nedumundram. Again, very intricate. This is Nelliyappan temple. But by the time the Nayakars and the others came, the Vijayanagara guys came, they were building mandapams of 1,000 pillars. 1000 tall mandapam. அது வந்தாவே உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் 14th century மேலே வந்துட்டாங்க. 15th century கிட்ட தான் வந்து they came to rescue தமிழ்நாடு தமிழ் பேசும் மக்கள் இருந்த ஒரு இடத்தை. They rescued it from the Muslim rulers. அது வரைக்கும் for about 400-500 years we were under the rule of Muslims. I mean, nothing happened much at that time. So these guys came in and conquered the Muslim guys. They then set up wonderful extensions to these temples and made it even better. So in the Yadi Varisai, these are the musical pillars in Tirunelveli, in Nelliyappan Koil. You can actually knock on each and every one of these and there's a different tone to it. And I've witnessed a guy who obviously knows how to be a percussionist, a drummer. And he started drumming and such beautiful music. And each and every one of these are fluted in a manner. I think they're connected there, and I think this one might be matched with that one. So if you are and you put your ear to it, you can actually hear it even very nice sonorously. Again, I don't know how they carved the inner thing, but just one. And they mounted it here, and they must have had some openings up there. Another view of it. This is in Cheranaleli. Again, very beautiful depictions of various temples, gopurams and all that. Now we come to Tanjore. Tanjore plays a very important role in the life of every Indian, I would say, because Tanjore irundha Rajendra Cholan adu pinnadi 400 வருஷத்துக்கும் we had the greatest rulers. We went all the way down south to Myanmar and beyond, Indonesia. In fact, that is the only reason why we did not get any invasion from the northeast. So northwest, ana inga northeast வந்து நம்ம அந்த அளவுக்கு நம்ம பயமுறுத்தி வச்சிருக்கோம். எவன் இந்த பக்கம் தலையில கூட எடுத்து வைக்காத அளவுக்கு நம்ம வச்சிருக்கோம். It was such a beautiful time for Indian history, and sadly once the British came later on, I mean the Muslim rulers came and then the British came, we came to a situation where we lost almost everything. In fact, this one, what you see here, is the palatial side of Tanjore. I'm going to have someone else talk to you about this during the break. This still belongs to one royal family. So when you go to Tanjore and you hear of someone saying, oh, I know someone in the royal family, you are actually talking about someone coming from a descendant of that. And the descendant, have you heard of Chhatrapati Shivaji? Every one of us has heard it, right? So Shivaji Maratha ruler, there were Maratha rulers that came back down south and they ruled. Again, all of them ruled these areas, the Chola realm. That's Chola Nadu. Chola Nadu is now the end of Nadu, Chola Nadu. They blended with us very well. ரொம்ப நல்லா ஆண்டிருக்காங்க. அதுல Sarfoji II occupies a very important role. Sarfoji II in 1801, he undertook a 2-month pilgrim on the river bank of Kaveri, and he visited over 100 Sivasthalams, and he wanted to show his sovereignty over the area against the British colonization. Amar Singh Cholto, half brother of Tulaja, who was the one that was ruling before Sarfoji, who did not have a heir. Amar Singh was on the side of the British. But on the net, Tulaja ji too, he adopted Sarfoji II, who was a direct descendant of Chhatrapati Shivaji. And at that time, there was a glimpse of hope for people from Tanjore, Chola Nadu, that we have a ruler who will be able to take us on the right path. Unfortunately, it did not last because the very next year, I think 1799 or something, or even later than that, he had to abdicate most of the region except the city town of Tanjore. But that 1801, he took that pilgrimage, he combined politics with religion. And he brought people together by just that, rendu mass pilgrimage. And the rendu mass pilgrimage was captured only with a poem. I forget the name of the poem, but Sri Sarabendra Tirthavali, I think that's what it is. A poem that sequenced all of his pilgrimage. And 100 places he has gone. And during that time, something that should have turned the country around did not. And we lost an entire phase to history. No one, this is where I want to throw a challenge to all CTCNs. Over the next course of the next 6 months, there are 5 of us, and I'm going to introduce them. 5 of us who are willing to give our time and effort to figuring out where these temples could be. These temples are not in any ordinary easy places. They're by the banks of the river, and some of them might not be there, some of them might have some rocks, but we're trying to do as much research as possible. We will publish it to you guys, CTC guys. During the months of November, December, January, great time. Go ahead and find and take pictures. This could be a revival of Sarfoji II, we can probably get it done for the next 2-3 years. Are you guys up for it? Good. So I'm going to show you another slide. This is Pratap Simha Raje Bhosle, who actually died in 1960. Again, descendant of Sarfoji II. His great grandson is right now here with us now. Please. So his name is Pratap Simha Raje Bhosle. The names get repeated, and so we have actual history here right with us today. And this is what I wanted to motivate all of you to say, let's do something to preserve all of this. It's all there. And the royal family is willing to support us in any manner, give access to all of the documents there, give access to the translations or whatever it is. So next time you want to go to Tanjore and have a nice visit to the palace, please let us know. We'll be able to make sure that Pratap, yes? Sure? Thank you. Alright, so that is the challenge that I wanted to throw for CTC today. But I wanted to end up with a a few more pictures. You can see that this is the Vedal temple. It has cracked through completely. Nothing can be done about it. Right? But do you remember these two pictures? One you saw a bit earlier, Parvati, and what's over here? Mona Lisa. How old is Mona Lisa? 500 years. This one is 1300 years old. This one is unguarded, out there. And you see the kind of a similarity in the smile? Beauty. It's nice, pretty. Again, we're not talking about photo quality. In paint, you don't look at photo quality. The painter's imagination has come to an extent where the kai and the viral narina, all of that is shown, and it's almost like I am Parvati, I am here, come to me, and I will take care of you. Amma, that's what. Thank you so much. Any questions?
I wanted to just add one thing. I had been there, and in the museum there was one gentleman who was very, very, very knowledgeable. நீங்க ஒரு சிற்பம் பத்தி பேசிட்டீங்க. அதாவது ஒரு காலில் ஒரு வக்ரமான ஒரு தோற்றத்துல ஒய்ஃப் இந்த பக்கம் திரும்பிட்டு இருப்பாங்க, குழந்தை அந்த பக்கம் போயிட்டு அதை வந்து ஒரு மெட்டல்ல வந்துட்டு அந்த இடத்துல அந்த மியூசியம்ல ஒரு ஸ்டாச்சு இருக்கு. அந்த மெட்டல் பார்த்து அவர் என்ன சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாரு, அந்த ஃபேஸ்ல he was giving me a little more detail. என்ன சொன்னாருன்னா, இந்த ஃபேஸோட ஒரு ஹேப் வந்து it will be showing aggressiveness while it was still maintaining a calmness here to make sure that the kid doesn't get scared. Amazingly done in metal.
Very good. நீங்க actually ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டேஷன்ல உட்கார்ந்து நீங்களா புதுசா நீங்க கண்டுபிடிச்சீங்க. Very meaningful ones.
இல்ல ஒரு சில நேரத்துல நம்ம போகும்போது அதை பார்க்கறதுல அதுக்கு சொல்றதுக்கு ஒரு ஆள் இருந்தா வாவ் ஓகே எவ்வளவு பெரிய விஷயத்தை நான் just like that விட்டுட்டு just cross பண்ணி போயிருப்பேன் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி இருந்தது. So it was amazing. And there are some good people over there to tell us more about these intricate stuff which you might miss just like that.
And they exist only to tell it.
Just true.
They are not there to make money out of you.
Sure, joy.
Yes. The passion. Yes. So please, I'm sorry I could not show you any more than this. The place on the basic irkalam, moon naal kuda basic irkalam. In fact, a few weeks from now, of us are going to a place called Dadapuram, where I think one of the best statues of Vishnu is there, Perumal. Arumiyana or Perumal for the Perumal. I'm willing to lead small groups of people to go on these kind of temple trips, and I have done over the last year also, ever since my last talk. Please feel free to contact me, and somehow we'll make it fun for all of us to go through there. Okay.
So, is there any plan to involve the government in conservation?
I'm sorry?
Is there any plan by your team to involve the government in conservation efforts?
Actually, there's so much to conserve. We don't have enough resources. So, இருக்கிறது கன்சர்வ் பண்ணால் போதுன்ற மாதிரி நாங்கள் என்ன பண்ணுறோம், 5 பேர் we are full time doing something else. We don't have the resources to spend more time on this one. ASI is an Archaeological Society of India, which is basically that's what they're supposed to do. They have a budget, and ASI employees are really dedicated, but they are hampered by budget constraints. So I always ask this question: எவ்வளோ நல்லதெல்லாம் இருக்கு, அந்த குடும்பங்க பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வெளியே நிற்குது, அது ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு எதுவும் இல்லையா? அது மாதிரி ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணுறது இன்னும் நிறைய எது போய் நம்ம எடுக்கிறது. அதே மாதிரி தமிழ்நாட்டில் I think about 150 plus 98 such places have been under the aegis of either ASI or Tamil Nadu SI. So we are doing something, but there's just way too much. I'll just contrast this with what happens in the United States. அங்கே வந்து நான் ஒரு 10 வருஷத்துக்கு இருக்கிறப்ப திடீர்னு ஒரு நாளைக்கு வந்து பெரிய ஒரு போர்டு ஒன்று போட்டுட்டாங்க. இங்கே வாஷிங்டன் பார்க் பண்ணி என்னடா கிட்ட போய் பார்த்தா ஒரு போர்டு ஒரு மரத்துக்கு கீழே ஒரு போர்டு போட்டுட்டாங்க, வாஷிங்டன் sat here. மிஞ்சி போன 200, 250, 300 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி வாஷிங்டன் ஒரு பேட்டிலுக்கு இடையில அவர் அங்கே உட்காந்துட்டு போனாராம். அது ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு ஹிஸ்டாரிக்கல் சைட்டாக போட்டுட்டான். இங்கே நமக்கு 1300 வருஷமா உட்கார்ந்துருக்காங்க கடவுள், நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம்? Yes, ma'am.
Sir, it was a nice temple tour you have given us. Out of curiosity, I'm just asking you, like you visited so many temples, did you find any similarity in like almost all the temples wherein you can say, when you visit temple, this is one similar thing you can find. Apni madri, you
Very
can find
good.
anything.
Very good. Now I was very prejudiced towards the Chola. So now the Chola temples மட்டும் தான் போயிருக்கேன். 9th century to the 13th, 14th century. அதனால அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு பேட்டர்ன் இருக்கு. ஸோ ஐநோ ஒரு சிவன் கோயில் போயிட்டேன்னா பெருமாள் கோயிலுக்கு நான் போனது ரொம்ப ரேர். I've gone to a few, but இந்த சிவன் கோயிலுக்கு தான் நிறைய போயிருக்கேன். ஏன்னா சிவபக்தர்கள். அதில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஐ கேன் போனால் கிளைண்டாக சொல்லலாம் தட்சிணாமூர்த்தி இங்கே தான் இருப்பார், துர்கா இங்கே தான் இருப்பாங்க, துர்கா இப்படி இருப்பாங்க அப்படின்னு ஓரளவுக்கு எனக்கு பார்த்துட்டு சொல்லிடுறது. ஒரு ஐ திங்க் 21 or 22 types of Shiva temples. I don't know the various types, but there are certain patterns and they have been documented.
Yes. Posale architecture ku inspire aayina nama Cholargal kattana.
Edu?
Posale.
I don't know, but I don't think they were. I think they were all inspired by each other. For example, Ellora case particularly. There could be cross. You know, we were trading, and at the net level, they were proud of their culture. So, you Ellora case particularly. Ellora case மாதிரி இங்க லோக்கல்ல நம்ம தமிழ்நாடுல உள்ள கழிவுமலை. நீங்க அது வந்து எல்லோரா வந்து 2-3 லெவல் இருக்கும். இங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா just one level, but beautiful. Are they saying? So there must have been some exchange of artistic talent also.
Pondicherry side la Brahma கோயில் இருக்குன்னு சொல்றாங்க.
என்ன கோயில்?
Brahma. கருப்பு டைமண்ட் அங்க இருந்தா யூரோப்ல.
Okay. I don't understand. Yes sir.
I have two questions actually. The other one is a progression of the first one. First is I also heard, or I don't know, maybe I heard right, that temples or the architectures or the paintings and the sculptures were basically also to pass on the social structures, the practices, and it's more of like also passing in history to a very, very indestructible form. Is that true?
Very true. Actually, in fact, what percentage of all inscriptions, you heard about this inscriptions, right? Temple putting inscription pathing. What percentage of that do you think pertains to religion? For a wide guess பண்ணுவோம்.
50%.
60%?
50 to 60.
50. Anybody else has got a different number?
Okay.
10? The actual answer is 0. It was not about religion at all. You சொன்ன மாதிரி அதிரசம் எப்படி பண்றதுன்னு ஒரு ரெசிபி போட்டுருக்காங்க. நிபந்தங்கள், அதாவது யாரு என்ன நிபந்தம் கொடுத்தாங்க, இந்த இடத்துல வந்து ஒரு விளக்கேறியதுக்கு என்ன மாதிரி நிபந்தம் கொடுத்தாங்க அப்படின்னு ஆடுகள் கொடுத்தது. All of these are written there. So now the cultural passage of the cultural information is all there. Throwing கூட போட்டுருக்கோம். அதாவது நம்ம ராஜராஜனோட பிரதர் ஆதித்த சோழனை கொண்டது யாருன்றது அது கண்டுபிடிச்சு அது ஒரு இடத்துல துரோகி சொல்லிட்டு அவன் பேரும் ரவிதாசன் எல்லாம் பேரும் போட்டுருக்காங்க. So it has been used for passing on information. In fact, some temples are also universities. Yes, sir. Second question.
Sir, how do you interpret the...
Let me take the second question. Yes, sir.
So in that case, that's what, so like for the generation that today, where these drones actually negligible, like how you just said, and want to encourage people to go on. So is there, therefore, since you are thinkers in this life, a way of passing on that message, the actual message behind just the visual depiction, like suppose Shiva tearing up the elephant and coming out. I'm sure there is a totally different contextual message behind that rather than just killing an animal. Whereas it may not be just coming out of the tummy of an elephant. So is there a way, or do you think there should be a way to pass on the message behind the whole depiction, or whatever they would have intended that?
The question is there some way to capture all that could have happened at that time contextually and then pass it on?
Yeah. Exactly like how say the scriptures like Vedas and all, though the depiction of the scenario was one, but the message behind it was different, which today say scholars and all interpret. Same thing from temple, because I think that's a very, very rich source of those cultural messages.
In fact, what you are doing is very right. You brought your daughter here. I'm sure she must have seen at least a few slides. It's going to resonate there. It's going to resonate there. It will come back. And I can guarantee you, having had 2 boys, dreams have a way of coming back. In fact, the people I go out with for my temple hunting I call it, are all youngsters. Much younger, maybe even about 25-30 years younger than I am. And I have a fun time and they are having a fun time too. So there is a way, and I think that's why I seek the help of CTC. I'm sorry I'm taking a bit more time, Peter. That is why I believe that CTC guys have a way of taking this to the common man. Because we have already taken a lot of our good values to the common man. When you go on a trek, there's absolute respect. I don't know if you've been on a trek. There's absolute equal respect among man, woman, child, youngster, elderly, புடவை கட்டவங்க, ஜீன்ஸ் போட்டவங்க எல்லாம் சமத்துவமாக இருக்கு. அதே மாதிரி இங்கேயும் வந்து இந்த டெம்பிள்லையும் இல்லை நீ பக்திமான் தான் அப்படின்னு இல்லாமல் இட்ஸ் நாட் அபவுட் பக்தி alone. Like I told you, there are 4 or 5 other reasons. And that is why I wanted to be able to say, let's go back to one small thing. Self-OG2, we took a 2-month pilgrimage. Can we go ahead and try to recreate that and bring about renewable interest in this world?
Yes. Thank you. No, think anything of that. But you look at it and you are saying Kala, Sanhara, Movie and something. How do you interpret and decide that?
எனக்கு இது எதுவும் தெரியாது சார். 4 வருஷம் முன்னாடி எதுவும் தெரியாது.
Is there any basic study?
No, நான் அப்போ நான் பார்த்தேன்னா I went and attended some lectures by say சித்ரா மாதவன், நாகஸ்வாமி. இந்த மாதிரி அந்த சப்ஜெக்ட் ஒரு 10-15 பேர் இருக்காங்க. அவங்க they give talks. Just go listen to them. In fact, at one particular time, Chitra came over to me. Now she's a good friend. என்ன நீங்கள் ப்ரொஃபஸராக நீங்கள் டெய்லி ஒவ்வொரு என்னோட லெக்சர் ஒவ்வொரு வந்து கேட்குறீங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டாங்க. அந்த அளவுக்கு I was following them. When you follow them, it will sink in. காலசமாரம் ஊற்றிட்டு வாயில் அந்த நுழையில வருது.
Not only that Kailas Gadar I have been for a long time, many times there because I am from Kanchipuram. But the statues you showed, I have seen that, but I didn't know this is a Brahma, this is this thing. That's why I asked.
And yes.
That's why we should go to temples.
No, we are going. But we can't
we are moving away. We are lost in touch.
Good. Anybody else? You had a question? No? Yes, sir.
சிதம்பரம் நடராஜரையும் அட்டாமிக் சயின்ஸையும் ரிலேட் பண்ணி சொல்றாங்க.
சிதம்பரம் நடராஜரையும்
அட்டாமிக் சயின்ஸையும் ரிலேட் பண்ணி சொல்றாங்க.
ஆமா.
So அதை பத்தி சொல்றீங்களா? அது ரொம்ப பெரிய டாபிக்கா இருக்கு.
I think there are a lot of deeper meaning. நீங்க இந்த ஆகம செயல்பாடுகளே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு கஜ பிரஷை அப்படின்னு பண்ணானா எதுக்காக பண்ணலாம், எதுக்காக ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் ஆங்கிள் பண்ணலாம், there is reason actually. I'm sure there is a reason. We have never captured it. He did not pass it on through his inscriptions either. அதாவது பெரிய பெரிய விஷயங்கள்லாம் வந்து அவன் அப்படியே மொழிகிட்டான். சின்ன அக்ரஸம் பண்ணுறது அதெல்லாம் நம்ம சொல்லி கொடுத்துட்டு போயிட்டான். So there must be some connection, but I'm sure we can dig in more. CERN Institute, I think we have one of our Nataraja statues there representing the universe.
Any social networking sites to communicate with you?
I think there are a lot of blogs out there.
Group of
Blogs, group varla. But there are some smaller groups. Tamil Heritage Club known irukku. They undertake an annual on-site. I know. I do panela.
CTC or trekking.
No, we will be sending out profiles, contact details and everything to make.
I'm willing to spend some time taking some of our people on heritage trips. We have the heritage person right here. She's been taking people on heritage trips. We will work together and to sign up.
You on the list of temples, is there a way I can pull in? I tried to document whatever I learned a bit coach. So on the list to pull for
yeah,
So that's what we will put the same video to the YouTube and our subscribe.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So we'll get all the
Alright, good.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
I'm Manick, sir. கஜபிரக்ஷை சொல்கிறீங்க, அது வந்து ஐ ஃபீல் லைக் கஜபிரக்ஷைன்னு சொல்கிறீங்களா, நிறைய இடத்துல கஜபிரக்ஷை வந்து இருக்குது. அது வந்து அந்த ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் வந்து நாட் தட் யூ கேன் நாட் மூவ்ன்ற மாதிரி, அதை புஷ் பண்ண முடியாது, அந்த இடத்துல நகர்த்த முடியாதுன்ற மாதிரி ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் இருக்குது. அது வந்து அந்த ஸ்ட்ரக்சரில் நம்ம ஃபார்மேஷன் வேறு ஸ்ட்ரக்சரல் ஃபார்மேஷன் பண்ணால் ஸ்ட்ராங்காக இருக்குன்றதை கூட எடுத்துக்காட்டுறதுன்ற மாதிரி நினைக்கிறேன். ஏன்னா அது வந்து சத்தியாகிரகம் பண்ணுற மாதிரி, இது வந்து இட் கம்ஸ் லைக் திஸ் வே. ஸோ கஜான்றது வந்து யானை அந்த மாதிரி உட்காந்துட்டா செயின் போட்டு எடுத்தா கூட அதை மூவ் பண்ண முடியாதுன்னு சொல்கிற மாதிரி. ஏன்னா கால் எப்படி போயிடும், பின்னாடி இது வந்து பேக்கில் எப்படி வரும், அது அதனால ஸ்ட்ராங்காக இருக்குன்ற மாதிரி
அது பல்லவ காலத்துல தான் அது நிறைய பண்ணாங்க. அதுக்கு குலோத்துங்கர் காலத்துக்கு அப்புறம் தான் திருப்பி இட் கம்ஸ் பேக். இடைப்பட்ட நேரத்தில் நிறைய இல்லை, ராஜராஜ சோழன் காலத்துலாம் இல்லை. ஸோ இது மஸ்ட் ஹேவ் பீன் சம் ரீசன்ஸ். Thank you.
Manick, one last.
Yes, sir.
What is the advice you have for treasure hunters? I mean, we've known what happened in Kerala. Like, is there any possibility of it repeating in Tamil Nadu?
Already looted.
Treasure. I actually have found a lot of treasures by myself. I have been to burial sites where we have found small statues, small figurines, which are probably 3,500 years old. இதே நான் நிஜமாவே அதை நான் வெளிநாட்டு கொண்டு போனேன்னா அது எவ்வளோ பணம் கொடுப்பான்னு தெரியாது. நான் கொடுக்க போகிறது வீட்டில் தான் இருக்கு. So we found arrowheads. We found so many small trinkets that are right there in front of you, 3,500, 4,000 years old. So there are treasures all over. So my advice is take pictures. Those are the best. Selfie it to me, even better. Thank you very much.
Karthik, please hand over a small memento on behalf of students. Thanks a lot, Manick. Okay, we just have a couple of announcements here. The Hindu Mission Hospital is conducting the blood donation camp. Those of you interested in donating a few units of blood, please go register. They'll be open till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon today, but the earlier you go, the better. We have a very illustrious list of speakers coming up in the afternoon, so I just thought I'd give you a small advertisement before you break for lunch. The first speaker in the afternoon session is going to be Arun Krishnamurthy from Environmentalist Foundation of India. He's been with us for the last 2 years again, and we've been participating in a number of their lake cleanup and restoration drives. He's an avid environmentalist, and if you've read his writing in The Guardian or some of his articles, you'll understand how passionate he is about conserving the environment. A truly inspiring soul, and I wish you would hang around to listen to his speech. The second speaker in the afternoon is an endurance athlete, triathlon finisher. He's an ultra marathoner. An ultra marathon is 100 kilometers run. This man is the first person from the first triathlete from Hyderabad. His name is Sunil Manick. He's going to give you tips on how to become an endurance athlete, how to train for one, how to not get into the traps of injuries and such. The final speaker for the day is going to be talking about cycling to heritage sites. You heard people in the morning about cycling in general. This man is going to give us a talk about, he's part of a group called Cycling with Yogis. And they go about, heritage cycling in South India. He's been to a number of places in the north too. His name is Ramanujan. I think you should really, again, listen to his speech because he started the group by himself, gathered a number of like-minded people and went about it. The third announcement is that, I see a number of people having many doubts once the speaker is done speaking. In case you missed a certain part of it, we're going to upload the complete video with the speaker profiles and ways to contact the speaker. In a span of 1 week, it will be circulated to all those who have registered through email. So you can get in touch with the speaker at a later date, drop your schedule, a date or an appointment, and get all your questions clarified. Or if you want to join their course, you can do so. But we have only 15 minutes to clarify questions after every talk, so sorry to cut you short. Lunchtime is going to be an hour. We would expect you back all enthusiastic, not sleepy, with sufficiently coffee, caffeine high by 1:30. 1:45 we're going to kick off the afternoon session. Any questions before that? Those of you who entered only today, those of you who missed the session yesterday, please raise your hand. Have you all registered?